Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark Abbott. I'd like to welcome you to the application support webinar for the AMS Bison Production and Marketing Grant Program. This webinar will give you a high-level introduction to the program, along with some specific guidance on the development of your application. You'll also want to visit our website for this program to review detailed FAQs and make note of the dates and times for 2 live office hours we're going to hold for this program, which I highly recommend that you attend. The purpose of this program is to support projects that strengthen and enhance the production and marketing of bison products in the United States, including improvements of the business and resource development and the development of innovative approaches to solving the long-term needs in the industry. We'd like to hear from you and your applications, what problems you've identified and how you believe you can address those challenges or problems with grant funds from this program. Throughout the RFA and in this brief webinar, we will provide numerous examples of program activities that you might propose. You can certainly incorporate these examples into your proposals, but the highest scoring, highest quality applications will not simply repeat back what we have shared with you in the RFA. They will clearly articulate a set of issues, problems, opportunities that they would like to address and tell us how they will do so. They also demonstrate that they are, and in doing so, demonstrate that they are the best organizations to receive this limited funding. So our agenda for today is really just 3 things. It's a program overview, it's the eligibility requirements, and how to apply. We'll go into some detail in certain areas of the application, and in other places I'll refer you back to the RFA or to our website for more information. So what is this program all about? Well, it was authorized in 2023 by the Consolidated Appropriations Act. It's administered by the Agricultural Marketing Service, and it provides awards for this industry with a minimum of $500,000 to $2 million. It specifically calls out the need to create a subaward program to administer the projects that you propose. Dialing in a little bit, the purpose of this program is to support projects and enhance the production and marketing of bison and bison products, including the improvement of business and resource development, the development of innovative approaches to solving long-term needs. We would like to see proposals that address identified problems and opportunities through such activities as business support and consulting, marketing and brand assistance, research, product innovation support, development and dissemination of information for targeted audiences or stakeholders in the industry. Please review this area of the RFA carefully for other ideas and guidance in terms of what you should be proposing as program goals. We will be prioritizing grants to national nonprofits and federally chartered tribal organizations that have expertise in the bison production or marketing. A high-quality application in this program will propose practical solutions for succinctly described needs and problems in the bison industry and address those issues over a broad, relevant geographic coverage area. They will also deliver measurable benefits for the bison producers, encourage partnerships among bison industry and organizations, tribes, and reduce the duplication of effort among organizations currently participating or working in this industry. Awarded programs will administer a competitive subawards for the majority of funds and activities in your project. Be sure to demonstrate your ability to administer subawards through your experience and or through a detailed description of how you will design and administer a subaward program if you were selected for a grant. On our office hours, we'll be talking extensively about how subaward programs should be or could be administered or proposed and the specific breakdowns of funding. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. Please be mindful of the schedule. The RFA publication, of course, was published on January 16th, and the deadline is April 22nd. There's no extensions for the deadline. We expect applicants to implement the program within a 3-year period and their subawards be complete within a 2-year period within those 3 years. We anticipate the programs will kick off September 30th, 2025, and go from there. So this next section is more about the details of who can apply and what activities they will do. So who is eligible? Eligible applicants include agricultural businesses, cooperatives, producer networks or associations, local governments, nonprofit corporations, economic development corporations, tribal governments, federally chartered tribal organizations. So it's a long list of organizations that can apply for these funds. Just remember the AMS will prioritize grants to national nonprofits and federally chartered tribal organizations that have expertise in bison production and marketing. I would highlight that we're looking at national organizations. So if you're working specifically in one state and you don't have experience working across the country, you might not be the right applicant for this program. You might be better suited as a sub-awardee, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So when you get in there, you'll see the guidance talks about an 80-20 rule. Grantees must use at least 80% of their award amount to implement a competitive subaward program for projects that meet the goals of your project and the Bison program. You may use up to 20% of the award amount to deliver the program, which could include the management of your subawards or projects that are operating and that are being operated directly by your subawardees. We also have applicant-led projects, which from the 20% of the funding, you as the applicant organization can directly administer activities or benefits to the target population. Now, this is kind of a general rule on how the funds need to be administered. There is some nuance here that we will talk about during the office hours and in the FAQ. So I would again encourage you to come to both of those as you develop your in support of developing your program and your budgets. So as I mentioned, these applicant-led projects, these come from the 20% of the funds you have available. And the big differentiation here is that an applicant-led project has the activities you're doing are for the direct benefit of the recipients of the program, as opposed to costs you need to administer the program, such as managing your subawards, the reporting to AMS, and other types of activities that you would just do in the general administration of a federal award. I mentioned at the top of the meeting that we have included quite a few examples of activities that are eligible under this award. And we can walk through a few right now, but you should definitely spend a fair amount of time in the RFA looking at this section and understanding how your organization can implement some of these or others, as I said, that you might propose. So promote and engage with potential bison producers, strengthen and enhance the production and marketing of bison and bison products, provide training and education to tribes and other industry stakeholders, assist all segments of the bison management in addressing sustainable production and marketing of bison and bison products, promote marketing of bison and bison products through an organized method that can measure tangible results. A high quality application does not have to do all of these. You should propose activities that are aligned with your mission and experience, or with that of potential sub-awardees that you would identify through a competitive process. Once you have your sub-awardees, they can do another set of activities. There's a lot of overlap here with the activities you can lead directly, but of course, there's a lot more money in the 80% of the budget for finding through a competitive sub-award process partner organizations that can implement the program or portions of the program for you or with you. So these include things like business support and consulting, marketing and branding assistance, research into bison production, product development, supply chain innovations, product innovations, including development of value-added products, in the development and dissemination of information to specific groups of stakeholders within the industry. Again, these are examples, and you may propose your own based on the identified and articulated needs that you see for the industry. This is a good slide to spend some time on, because if your activities fall on this slide, you probably should not spend time applying to this program, but instead wait until the awardees talk about what they're looking for in subawards. So these are not eligible for funding. If they benefit only one agricultural producer or vendor or individual, if they propose land acquisition or construction, whether it's expansion or new construction, if they propose equipment, for example, in a single place, if they're dependent on another project that is yet underway or has a different funding stream that requires a match, if it's federal money, this program is not for you. You won't be eligible to do that. If you're trying to establish a new business or an organization to support the industry, that's also not going to be allowable in this program. And if you're a membership organization or an association, excluding everyone from or anyone from being able to participate in the program is something that we will not support, and your application will likely not move forward. So in addition to activities that we're providing guidance on this webinar and the RFA and the FAQs, you need to be familiar with the AMS general terms and conditions of the award, as well as the 2 CFR 200 to the cost principles and uniform guidance for federal grants. If all of that is new to you as an applicant, I encourage you to first go to the AMS general terms and conditions, and that will give you a good overview of the most important areas you need to think about as you put an application together. In addition to your program activities and your narrative, you'll need to develop a budget, and that budget will have 2 sections basically. It will have indirect costs and direct costs. Your direct costs will be the 20% that you're either doing you're leading projects yourself and you're administering the program. Within that budget line item, you'll have direct costs like salary, but you'll have indirect costs as described here, which are things that can't be charged directly to the grant because they benefit your whole organization. So there's 2 ways that you can claim these. One is through a de minimis rate, which is 15% of certain activities in your direct activity budget. The second way is if you've negotiated a federal rate with the government already, we will use that. And in fact, if you have that rate, you're required to use it. This is down in the weeds a little bit on your budget development, and so you can come to our office hours with questions related to your budget. And I would encourage you also to go back to the FAQs that talk, and our RFA in fact does talk in great detail about this indirect cost rate and how to apply it to your proposal and your budget. So far we've gone through the kinds of activities we're looking for, the general guidance on who should be implementing those activities and for what purposes. This is a quick section on the review process itself. And when AMS looks at a grant application, we have 3 steps to the process. The first is an initial qualification and screening to make sure that your application is complete, to make sure you've applied to the right program. In this case, to look at the activities in a large sense, the activities you're proposing, and make sure they fall under the guidance and the purposes of this grant and not under what might be a subaward or something more appropriate for a different grant program that's helping, for example, one individual producer. The second part is the technical review. The technical review is a programmatic review. It's going to be done by an external panel that will score your application against criteria that you can find in the RFA, and I'll talk about in a moment. And the third is administrative review, which is the AMS staff review. where we look at the technical review, we check the initial qualification screening, and uh, make a final presentation recommendations as to what should be considered for an award. The administrative review will also include for the folks that are selected or for an award, changes and modifications as needed to the budget and the program narrative that happens for the finalists. So the next section is how to apply. And there are three things you really have to focus on. And if you're reading this seminar this week and you don't, or this webinar this week, and you haven't done these three things yet, you should just spend time now. First, you have to have a grants.gov account. You have to have an active sam.gov account. If you got one 2 years ago and didn't renew it last year, you don't have one. It's dormant and it has to be either renewed or redone. And then once you have that SAM account, you will get a unique identifier, which is a UEI. That number, you must have that number in order to apply through grants.gov. And grants.gov has a great set of tools and videos and user guide to go through some of that stuff in detail. And so the website address is here. We'll make this slideshow available so you can click on these URLs and go directly to the pages you need. Within your application within your application itself, there are several forms that are required, and you will upload these directly into grants.gov by filling them out there or adding them as an attachment. It's the SF 424, which is the general application cover sheet, and then the 424A, which is your budget, and then budget narrative, your project abstract, your project narrative. That's the heart of your application, and you'll follow the guidance in the RFA to create your narrative. And there's a narrative form that will make that helpful for you. It's available. It's on our website, and you should use it. And then the final is the letters of commitment from partner or collaborator organizations. We have definitions of both partner and collaborator in the RFA, and I would encourage you to check those out as you write your narrative. The next section is application scoring. So we see alignment and intent at 25 points, technical merit at 25 also, achievability at 15, expertise and partners 25, fiscal plan and resources 10. You may not have all of your expertise and partners lined up, in which case you would want to talk about your subaward process and the criteria you're going to use to find those subawards and work with them or manage them. Section 6.1 of the RFA has this scoring criteria, and there's a nice chart there that will go into detail about how you get points that are available to you, as shown here. It is a section of the RFA that you should have open when you're writing the narrative, because if you can write to how the applications are scored and the criteria we use to determine what a high quality application is or a fundable application, you stand a much better chance of making it past the external technical review. And again, during our office hours, you can ask specific questions about how we score applications and the kinds of activities and experiences we would like you to share with us to help you get points in all of these areas. So there's some additional information we want to share with you. This is, again, these URL hyperlinks we'll make available so you can find them. You can go to our website, which is AMS, and the last is BPMGP, which is the acronym for our program. There's grants.gov, and of course, there's our email address. Make good use of the email address. If you have any questions at all, if we can answer them directly, we will, or we'll refer you back to the FAQ section that you need to look at. But we try to get those answers back same day, especially as we're moving towards application deadline. This is technical assistance and support for those accounts that you need to have set up. Again, do this early. If you're trying to do any of this stuff around the time you're submitting your application near the deadline and you don't have it, there's a good chance you won't be able to submit your application. And not being able to submit your application because you don't have a SAM account or a UEI, or you didn't log in early to grants.gov and can't figure it out. None of those qualify as a reason that we would accept a late application. If that happens, your application will not be reviewed. That's all to say you should do this early. So that concludes this webinar recording. And if you listened all the way through, thank you. Hopefully it'll help you in the development of your application. Hopefully I've done enough PSAs for our live office hours and for the FAQ, which I think are really critical for developing a high quality application. And that's all we have for today. So thank you and best of luck to everyone in putting together and submitting your application. Thank you.